The Nightcap Chat Podcast. Your home for pop culture related nonsense. Only on the Nightcap Chat Network. Grab your nightcap and settle in. Here are your hosts.
Welcome back to another episode of Nightcap Chat, the pop culture podcast where we talk pop culture nonsense. Today's nonsense is going to consist of talking about the best character interpretations. So these are performances from actors who adapted a character, whether it's from a comic book, a novel, a video game, or a real person. The best character interpretations. I'm Blade O'Neill.
I'm Lance O'Neill.
And I'm Steve Brown.
And before we dive into it, of course, just want to thank everyone for taking the time to listen, like, share, and subscribe to Nightcap Chat. Without you guys, of course, we wouldn't be here. Thank you for the love on our last episode as we returned from our hiatus. And thank you for all the love on our new new show that we have on the Nightcap Chat Network, Ink and Paint. We appreciate the listens.
Is it getting any good feedback or no? Because it's fun to record. And last time we tackled some really ridiculous topics. And just wait until the next one because we just went to Disneyland last weekend. And I have almost nothing positive to say about it. It's one of the worst experiences I've ever had in my entire life. And it's all because of the organization. So
sounds like a Blade episode.
Oh my God. You should join on because it's going to be a hostile episode for sure.
I love it. So we got a really fun episode planned out here, but Ken is not with us. He sends his love and regards, and he wishes that he could make it, but Steve is here, so it's okay. We got this.
I just imagine the listeners like, thank God Steve is here because he really adds something to the show. Something said by no listener in the history of any show I've ever done in my life. You know what's interesting, though, is this last week I did visit a certain comic book shop for the first time in person.
You did? And which comic shop is that?
This little one. It's in Glendale. I can't remember the intersection that it's on.
But what's the name of the comic store?
It's Drawn to Comics.
Drawn to Comics on the corner of 58th Avenue and Glendale Avenue at 5801 West Glendale Avenue in downtown Glendale, Arizona.
That's the one. And I went there and I bought a statue, a whole bunch of comics that Ken had held for me. And I was giving him some of the Batman exclusive ones that we got at the premiere. So we kind of got, but man, I got to be honest. I've been to a handful of comic book shops and his store is absolutely fantastic. Yeah. And one of the things that him and I were talking about is his store doesn't rely on gimmick like a whole Funko wall. It's a very small section. And even he said that, it's kind of a gimmick, but you can get Funkos anywhere. And that's kind of his point. It relied on toys and obscure stuff and really cool detail. But also when I went there, it was bumping, dude. The whole store was jam-packed. There was people. There were people everywhere. They were asking him questions. And then him and I started talking about Batman. And this other dude just randomly came up and started asking him what he thought and all this other stuff. But what a cool store. So to be serious and not even blowing up the spot, what a badass comic book shop. Yep. Really, really cool.
I know. I completely agree. And it's funny. That was last week.
That was last Wednesday.
So, wow.
I was there last Wednesday.
I was there last Tuesday.
I was there Wednesday at like 6:30 to 7. My kid was in volleyball about 20 minutes away. So I went over to pick up a statue, a whole bunch of comics and drop off some stuff.
That's crazy. On Tuesday, you guys know I produced for Woodshed Creative, and the owner Eric, he was in town, and he was here also. His daughter's birthday fell during this trip, and she said she wanted to go to a comic book store. I was like, well, there's only one comic book store in the valley, and for those of you who know Arizona, they were staying in Gilbert, so they came out from Gilbert to Glendale to Drawn to Comics, and they bought some toys. Yeah, like you said, the upstairs is awesome. But she got some birthday gifts that she got to pick out at Drawn to Comics, and that was so cool. It was her first time here, so yeah, it was cool. It was a lot of good experiences at Drawn to Comics this week. So, Ken,
I got a brick. I got a brick of the new HeroClix set.
Yeah,
I pulled a Spider-Man, the rarest, one in the set. It was great.
Yeah, it's like $120 HeroClix.
That's right here. I sent it to Ken afterwards.
Oh my, no way. Damn, that's awesome.
Yeah, super cool.
Yeah, it was a really cool shop though. For my first time in there,
love it.
I was like I was geeking out in like a huge way. I couldn't believe it. The other ones I've been to sucked compared to this. Half of the store were Funkos and nonsense, and this was dedicated to the craft. And the people that were there clearly knew what they were doing. Just an absolutely awesome store. I was blown away.
Yep.
I don't know what I expected, but it was less than that, and in no slight or mean way. I just hadn't been to a comic book shop that blew my hair back before, and that one was awesome. So
Yep. I completely agree. Ken's got it down pat for sure. But of course, we can talk about Drona Comics all day, every day, because we, of course, love it, and we are not in any way biased. And I do mean that. That sounds sarcastic, but I don't know how to say that without sounding sarcastic. But we got a really cool episode. I think we're just gonna dive right into it. I don't have a clever segue. I have a huge list, and I think I know where to start, but I don't want to steal Lance's thunder. So I don't know whether to let him say it or...
You mean Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man?
Yes, that's exactly what I mean.
Oh, wow. I mean, literally, I don't think they could have picked anyone better. I think, you know, I don't know how many times you went back in time and like there's not a better pick. And I think it also, I mean, obviously the writing does have a lot to do with it because they could have ruined it also. But man, he captivates that character. He just plays it so well. And I think the whole, like, I think they did a really good job with, like, in the beginning, especially the first one. The first one was obvious. I think it's by far the best Iron Man movie. It's not even close.
Yeah.
Because the second one was whatever. The
Agreed.
third one sucked.
Agreed.
But they did a great job with he was like, you know, more of like the womanizer type, and then, you know,
he's kind of douchey.
Shit kind of hit the fan.
He's kind of an asshole.
Yeah, he's kind of douchey, right? And then it hit the fan, and then, you know, he started thinking like, man, you know, life isn't just like a party. Like there's a lot more to it. And then there was the whole like drinking thing, the whole partying too much thing. He stopped that. Well, what am I doing with my weapons and my company? Like there was so much to the character, and he did it so well. And like, I mean, I think there'll almost never be another Iron Man, or you shouldn't, you know, unless it's some alternate universe nonsense, you shouldn't have like an actual Iron Man movie for the next like 20, 30 years, because like it's just how you going to replace it. No one can.
And the cartoons like emulate, you know, like they don't say imitate Robert Downey Jr., but I guarantee you the direction in the cartoons and stuff is like Robert Downey Jr.-esque. Like that's gotta be like the sample, you know, like something, this is what audiences are comfortable with now. Let's stick with this. Like we're not reinventing the wheel, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I love this pick, and I knew that this was going to be on there. I chose a different Marvel one just for fun to put on here, but I think that you can't redo this at all. He's unrecastable.
Oh my gosh,
absolutely?
You're gonna steal my thing. Damn it. Go ahead.
I don't think so.
No,
Maybe not.
Yep.
I don't know.
You already said it.
I will say the only other one that, and it's controversial, so not to take away, Lance, I love how you said that thing, because if you know Robert Downey Jr. as a person, you know that he went through some nonsense, and he went through and struggled through a lot of stuff. And I feel like he brought a lot of that character to this.
Definitely.
And I've seen every single Robert Downey Jr. movie that's ever been made. As a matter of fact, he may be one of my top 5 where I've seen everything. My mom is obsessed with him. I've always just loved his range. And he brought a lot to this role, which is why I think he stuck around for so long and was so willing to adjust contracts to keep sticking around. I think is great. In the Marvel world, I knew you guys were going to take that, and I did choose Chadwick Boseman as Black Panther. And I do have to say, you guys are grunting. I can't tell if you agree or disagree.
No, I'm grunting because he's phenomenal.
Okay, because I think he altered the world in multiple different ways. Not only was he an absolutely perfect human being, he loved the role. And this I find fascinating. And if you look this up, you can Google it. About 6 months ago, they did an interview with his family and his brother. And they said that while he was sick and everything, and he was talking with family members, he said he wanted the character to be recast. He said Black Panther has moved people and kids in a way that he never expected, and he does not want the character to go away. He said, please, don't tell anybody until I'm gone, but this has got to be recast. And I was moved like I was really choked up to see that, because it just goes to who Chadwick Boseman was, as an absolutely selfless person who didn't tell 90% of the people in his world that he was suffering on a daily basis. Chadwick Boseman was a great human being, but also he suffered for the role. And I love the fact that he said, please recast the character. Don't let T'Challa die. And I think that that's amazing. But I think that as good as Iron Man was with Robert Downey Jr., if you're going to go with another character on there, I would have to say Chadwick Boseman.
Yeah, I 1,000% agree.
Yep.
It's not even close. He was phenomenal. And then everything he had to do, from the accent to just getting in shape for the film, like 1,000%.
In spite of him battling cancer.
Cancer, right. I mean, he is, above and beyond every other actor in Hollywood, period. I don't forget about the Marvel in Hollywood. Okay?
Exactly. Well, exactly. It's bigger
he's a
than
great
the MCU.
human being.
Agreed.
He's just, man, what a stand-up person. And I hope they do recast it, because T'Challa is an amazing character. And I know no one will probably do as well as he did, but that's okay, because it's what he wants at the end of the day.
And really, and I know this isn't the popular take, like they should have recast him already. Like the whole thing, like, oh, we're just gonna do it without a T'Challa, was stupid. I think it's unfair that what Chadwick Boseman brought to this character, and he became so popular, especially like amongst the little kids, for the various reasons that they did look up to, this king. T'Challa was only in a few movies. It's not like Robert Downey Jr. Iron Man, who's been Iron Man for 3 Iron Man movies and 3 Avengers movies and cameos in various other movies. Like, there was 1 Black Panther movie. There's so many awesome T'Challa movies. And while, gosh, it's a heartbreaking tragedy, like that he passed away and everything he had to deal with. But like, I mean, he even said, like, we gotta move on. And while there'll never be another Chadwick Boseman T'Challa, there's still T'Challa stories, and that doesn't discredit that at all. You know what I mean?
Well said. This is going to sound corny, but honestly, Lance, you said something that's not funny just a second ago that kind of moved me. I like how you said that no one will ever do it as good, and that's okay. Honestly, that's kind of got me a little bit choked up. I know that sounds stupid, but I like how you said that. No one's ever going to be as good, and that's all right, because you can't beat the best.
Right.
It's just how it is, and I love that you said that. I've never thought about it like that, but I'm a little bit moved by that statement, because I completely agree. And when he died, it was a huge deal in our house. Like, it was a really whatever. Sad moment, but I well said, Lance. I agree.
Yeah, it was an emotional day here too, and we even sat down and recorded an episode of Nightcap Chat about it, because we didn't sit there and anyway, out of everybody who's played a Marvel character in any Marvel movie, there is one actor that is more definitive in his or her role than Robert Downey Jr.
I know who it is.
There is one person who was...
It's not Liam Neeson. He hasn't been in the MCU.
That's true.
Where are you going to go with this?
But this person is this character. It's almost impossible for there to be another person to play this character. And there's already proof out there. Because as of this point, he pretty much is like one of the only actors to survive his franchise being rebooted twice.
Ah, there we go.
And that's J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah Jameson. Come on.
This is a great pick, because it's so obscure, but you're totally right. Yeah, that's a good one, dude.
See, at first you're like,
there's
no,
not much.
Who?
Yeah, I thought you were going somewhere else, but
yeah, so did I.
He's perfect for the role, but he's only had like little pieces. We're always thinking big picture. That's a great pick. I mean,
yeah, well done. That's a good one. He's so good at that role.
You look at those comics, you look at the 90s animated series, and then right on the screen is like, yep, this is obviously all the same exact character. And he started in the Tobey Maguire movies. He didn't appear in the Andrew Garfield movies, and now he's back in 2 of the Tom Holland movies. He survived getting reboot.
I loved how they filtered that out, and they brought him back and kept him around, because he absolutely nails the role. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. It's incredible. Plus, he's a great actor. So I thought that was a fun little little thing to consider there. Who's got something next? I have a huge list. I can even go again.
I
Go for
have
it, Blade.
Okay.
Well, if you have a huge list, you better start whittling it down. What do you got?
Okay. Okay. I'm not gonna steal what I know Steve has, so
But you agreed with that one. You want to tag team that one then?
sure, go ahead. Because that'll bring me into my next one organically.
Because I have two that are real life musicians that were depicted perfectly
me
on
too.
screen. Oh crap! I thought we were going to tag team it, but maybe not.
Interesting.
Okay, so one of my favorites, and I'll do this one really quick because I know nobody pays attention to it, is Leslie Odom Jr. this last year played my favorite musician of all time, Sam Cooke, in
no, I didn't see
One
that.
Night in Miami.
Yeah.
And not only did he play the character very well, he sang the best song of all time, just nailed it. It makes me cry every single time. He's great. But I thought the one you were going to say is Joaquin Phoenix playing Johnny Cash in Walk the Line, because
that's the one I was not
role-
going to steal.
Oh, okay. Well, there we go. I just got rid of two on my list very quickly. I was a Johnny Cash pseudo fan. My mom and dad kind of gently listened to him. I knew who he was. I saw the movie and I liked Walk the Line a lot. But then after seeing it, I started paying more attention, just like how a hack wannabe fan is now. And man, he freaking nailed it. He's really, really great. But that movie has rewatchability a lot. And man, he embraces that role. So I really, really enjoyed Leslie Odom Jr. and Joaquin Phoenix playing those two people. I know that a lot of roles you can just mimic and copy it. And I'll give you an example. Will Smith played not Ray Charles. He played Muhammad Ali in Ali. And I all he did was an impression. And there's nothing against Will Smith. I actually think Will Smith is a fantastic actor. My mom and I have had this conversation a lot.
Empty, no acting.
There's got to be heart to it, right? So I think that Will Smith being Muhammad Ali was just doing an impression. Jamie Foxx being Ray Charles was more in the middle. They obviously picked him because he could sing the songs, like he sounded just like Ray, but he didn't quite meet the heart. Joaquin Phoenix and Leslie Odom Jr. in those two roles, playing Johnny Cash and Sam Cooke, they both felt and spoke like they were speaking from the human being that they were doing, and I love it. Absolutely love it. If the movie that Sam Cooke was One Night in Miami, it's on Amazon. I highly recommend it if you care. It's kind of controversial, but his role is fantastic. But Joaquin Phoenix in Walk the Line was a great one. Directed by the same guy that made Wolverine and all those other movies that we love.
Matthew Vaughn?
No, he did not make Wolverine. I'm blanking on his name right now. He made I can't believe this. I'm so bad with names. James Mangold. He did
Logan.
Ford Ferrari, Logan, Walk the Line.
Logan. But Matthew Vaughn did the Wolverine.
Oh yeah, 310 to you. Yeah. Sorry about that. I may have said it poorly, but that's what it is. But anyway, those are my two musical real life person in film.
No, Joaquin Phoenix is, I mean, I don't know how many times he's done it. Like he like transcends, like he's just one of those actors, and he's a phenomenal Johnny Cash. That's a great movie. It is rewatchable, but I mean, it's a little, because it's deep, it depends on your mood, but he is absolutely incredible, even Reese Witherspoon is good. And there's a guy who plays Elvis. You don't really see him. It's kind of off screen. And they did a good job. They did a good job with that. And I liked that, because you have to, Elvis is so iconic, you get kind of, you might get hung up. Anyway, you said all the right things about Johnny Cash. So I have two more musicians.
Okay.
One of them, and before I say this, before all you people are like, oh, you can't talk about him, like, separate the art from the actor. Like, we know he's a garbage human being now, but Kevin Spacey as Bobby Darin.
Oh my God! In Beyond the Sea.
That was a great movie.
Yeah, he went on tour. He went on tour for 12 cities singing those songs. I'm a huge Bobby Darin fan. As a little kid, I was a Bobby Darin fan. So when he came out doing this, oh my God, Blade, great freaking pick. He literally, you can get his album where it's him doing his live tour, and he's phenomenal. He literally embraced the role and toured live as Bobby Darin.
Yep.
Wow, good pick, man. That was way over my head. Nicely done.
It's a good movie. You know, there's heart. He's phenomenal. He looks like him. He acts like him. He sounds like him. I mean, like what more do you want? And forget about whoever Kevin Spacey is. He's still a great actor. And
Well said.
He did great. In
Damn.
this movie, right? I mean,
I forgot about that film. Yeah, I love that film.
Struggling with Robert Ducky.
Yeah.
Getting like not scolded, like heckled. You know, like gosh, like so many things like you don't think
Because
about.
of Splish Splash. Yeah.
Splish Splash. Yeah, what I said, Robert Ducky. Yeah. Sing Splish Splash. That's it. Yeah, great movie.
Good pick, man. I'm a massive Bobby Darin fan. I didn't even think about that. Nicely done.
One more musician role. Also, like I think transcending. It's emotional, and like you look at them like side by side, and they do like the same poses, and you're like, wait, which one's which again? And that's Val Kilmer as Jim Morrison.
Oh, okay. That's my mom's number one of all time. Yeah. That's my mom's number one.
Another great movie. And gosh, I mean, and I love the Doors. Like I love the Doors music, and he's a poet, and and it's I wouldn't watch it over and over again, but it's really good. I mean, I'd watch it again for sure.
I'm not a Doors fan, actually. I really, honestly, I dislike the Doors, and I kind of dislike the Eagles on the same way. I just can't get into it. I can understand the lyrics and how poetic the words are in his music, but I do know how he moved and acted, and damn, that's another great one. Val Kilmer, did he win Best Actor for that, or did he get nominated? Because that was a huge deal.
I feel like he did. It was a big deal, and
he nailed it.
Great.
Another great one. Yeah.
So I am double checking my list here. I think that wraps up my musician people.
I have one that's kind of weird.
Okay.
Oh.
Let's see where this goes.
It's just because like the movie I feel like wasn't good, but
interesting.
The person did the role very well. You know, despite the movie sucking.
Like Robert Downey Jr. in Iron Man 3?
Iron Man 3? Yeah. Actually,
that shows how good he was.
Iron Man
like
3,
he did bad movies, and he's still iconic.
Iron Man 3 was a great film halfway through.
Up until halfway through.
I loved it up until halfway through.
I hated
that last like hour was just ruined the whole movie. Because I loved the movie. When he had like the PTSD thing from it was like, oh wow, like this is a moving, like wow, this is great. And then all of a sudden, they just ruined it. Okay. Anyway, back to my pick. So this person looks almost identical to the person they're playing. Okay, the movie I don't think is very great, but he did such a good job. And it's kind of like he did a good job without it being corny. And that is John Goodman as the Babe, right? Babe Ruth. He was so good at just looking like it and like kind of like capturing the character, you know, almost of Babe Ruth. The movie wasn't that great. I'm not gonna lie.
But it's not.
But he did a great job despite it. I don't know if either of you have seen it.
I haven't.
I've seen it multiple times, and I love that you said that the movie's not good, but the performance was good. You're right. And there was nobody else that could have played Babe Ruth other than him. There's literally nobody.
He's built just like him. His face looked like him. It was crazy.
Yeah, it's almost weird watching him. It's like, oh, that's creepy. Yeah, that's a good one. Dave, see, now you've got me on a tangent about sports ones, because you could also go back to Chadwick Boseman again playing Jackie Robinson.
Yes, that's
oh my gosh.
42 was actually a good film. I agree with you on the Babe Ruth one. That was great. Awesome pick. And it is a garbage movie. It really is a bad movie.
It really is bad.
The side actors are atrocious, and
it's kind of campy and corny.
Yeah, but it was in that late 90s when they were making cutesy sort of sports films, and I could see that was the direction. That's not a Disney film. I believe that was a Fox film, but either way, I could see where they were going. Rewatchability is horrible, but he was fantastic. Good pick. That's an awesome one. He physically looks just like him.
He does. It's weird.
Now, do you remember the dude that played him? And I remember his name in. Does he play? He does in The Sandlot. The guy that plays Babe Ruth for a hot second in The Sandlot, he's really fantastic as well. To me, he just nails. Wait, am I thinking The Sandlot? It's not. Yeah, it's the Sandlot.
No, it is the
Yeah.
Sandlot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there's the autograph and they throw it over.
Yes.
The,
Yeah. That's
oh my
another
gosh,
good one.
that makes me cringe. That
What?
whole scene of him grabbing the ball.
Oh,
and just,
okay,
even
okay,
as a
okay.
little kid watching
Yeah,
it, I was just like, stop.
Because you're a baseball and a collector fan. You're
Yeah,
just
like I
leave
was
it.
like, stop. What are you doing?
Squints. All of them. I love it.
Blade, just you clearly haven't seen the film. The kid loses a baseball and they want to play a baseball, so he grabs his dad's autographed Babe Ruth ball and starts playing with it.
Oh shoot. Okay. Wow.
Wait, hold on a second. Did we just do something weird? Have you never seen The Sandlot? I don't care if
No.
you're a sports fan.
No, I've never seen it.
I'm not going to recommend it because I know the rule, but oh wow, you just blew my mind. I've never met one person that hasn't seen and loved The Sandlot.
Wow.
That's
Okay.
crazy. But anyway, it's fantastic.
I'm
It's one of
not
my favorite
against
sports
it.
films of all time.
Wow. Okay.
See,
so-
Lance, would you do Everybody from A League of Their Own then? Because those are all real people. I just don't know anything about them. There's such a good movie.
Enough? I don't.
I just don't know enough about them, but it's such a good movie, and it's in the same time zone
Yeah. Where do you
as
Where
the
do you
Babe
draw
Ruth
the
movie.
line of like playing yourself? You know, 'cause
exactly.
I found this
Gina
list.
Davis is fantastic, but it was a cute movie. But anyway,
Yeah.
sorry, that was
I have seen that
a
movie, though.
distraction. Good pick, Blake. Lance, sorry about that.
So since Lance said a weird one, I'll do my weird one, the kind of outlier here. I'm not sure if either of you have seen this movie, but this is an actor who I had zero respect for until I saw this movie, and I was like, wow, this little schmuck from High School Musical got some acting chops. And that's Zac Efron as Ted Bundy.
Yep.
Ted Bundy's a serial killer. So for those of you out there and maybe don't know who Ted Bundy is for some reason, Ted Bundy was a serial killer and he killed pretty women. And Zac Efron kind of looks like this guy. And I watched the this Ted Bundy documentary that Netflix put out right around the same time. So the story was very fresh in my mind. He did an incredible job, and it's freaky because in real life, all these women were like how much they loved him and stuff, and like he's a known serial killer, you know, and they were like that anyway. He's just great, and now I think, you know, now I wouldn't mind seeing him do something in the MCU, and I don't know why he's not
just so
doing
we're clear, his film is on. It's called Extremely Wicked, Shockingly Evil and Vile. That is the name of his film. If you want to go
That's the name
check
of
out
the movie.
That's the name. Yeah, that's the name. I knew it was very long, so I had to bring it up and make sure
I don't even remember that being.
It is called
title.
Extremely Wicked, Shockingly Evil and Vile. And that is hold on. Before you ask who came up with it, that is the name of his stenographer when they were writing about him. It's a direct quote from someone that was writing about him during his trials. So it's not like it's just made up insanity. It actually is sort of relevant.
It's very long-winded, though.
It is.
Well, thank you for that, because I never would have came up with that.
Yeah.
I've seen this movie and it's not even memorable that is the title. So the title's awful. Performances are great. It is worth watching 100%. So who's got what next, or should I go again?
I have two people. Actually, it's more like three people and two things left. I'll get one of them out of the way. I know we're going to agree on this last one, so I'm going to use it as my closer, but I'm going to go with a relevant one right now. Two actors. And I don't know if you're watching the show, but I had 0.0 interest in this show. And now I am absolutely riveted. It is one of my favorite things out there now, and I cannot wait for Wednesdays on Hulu. Lily James and Sebastian Stan playing Pamela Anderson and Tommy Lee.
Wow.
I'm not joking around. You guys think I'm just choosing something that's new and relevant?
No.
Give the freaking episode a shot. They are absolutely, I don't even know how they did it without sacrificing huge sections of who they actually are in real life, because they are them. He is Tommy Lee and she is Pamela freaking Anderson to a fault. Like, it is bizarre to watch these two.
Wow.
I am loving the show. I didn't realize the depths of this. I never even saw the tape. I've seen like a clip of it, but not even like the cool clips. I know nothing about
I haven't
how
seen
it happened.
anything either.
This is what I'm saying.
Not too much about that part.
Right. I'm just saying I didn't know anything. I knew that there was
It was a
tape, but I
big
didn't know
deal.
the
It was a
background.
big deal.
Yeah.
So when you watch this, it's a fascinating story, but I got to say, these two they must have sacrificed a lot to get into these roles. So I know that Lily James goes through 4 hours of prosthetics before every single shoot.
Wow.
To get her role correct. Sebastian Stan goes through less because he kind of already looks like Tommy Lee. It's just spray on tattoos, but the way that they act is literally like anything I've ever seen them in. It's actually sometimes it's odd. And in the show, they will sometimes show real life clips and you can't tell the difference. I'm dead serious. You cannot tell the difference. So sometimes I'm like, wait, whoa. On that news clip, was that Sebastian Stan or was that Tommy Lee? So we will pause it and rewind. And it's like, I don't know. I think that's him, but I don't know. So anyway, that's
cool.
my really relevant pick today because it isn't over. There's one episode left. It airs this Wednesday on Hulu. But it's a great show. It's gonna get a ton of awards when it's time, and it is due for those ones. They have earned it. It's great.
Yeah, I hope Sebastian Stan gets some credit because he's phenomenal as the Winter Soldier. And he's such a good actor, and I'm glad that that's doing well for him.
Yep.
So I haven't seen this, so I'm gonna bring it up in case you've seen it because it's a similar. To me, it's similar. Maybe it's not similar, but Gary Oldman played Sid Vicious in Sid and Nancy.
Yep.
And like I've seen clips of it, and like I mean Gary Oldman's just one of the greatest actors
phenomenal.
of all time. And
easy.
I haven't seen this movie, but have you seen it? Like, I mean,
I have. I've seen it multiple times. My mom is a huge fan, so we watched the movie. I don't know enough about how Sid Vicious was in real life. I'll be very honest. I don't have a good basis of comparison. I know who he was. I know
supposedly
all of his drama.
He's very much like that. So
yeah, exactly.
It just reminded me of it.
I can't really compare. Unlike Jim Morrison, I knew who he was and I knew how he acted.
Yep.
So, yeah.
All right, Lance, what do you got?
All right. I got a DC one.
Ooh, really? I don't think I have a DC one.
Yeah, I know. It's like who can you think
I know
of?
who it
DC's
is. Okay,
terrible.
He's gonna say Christopher Nolan's Batman. I know it.
That's exactly what I'm gonna say.
No, you're gonna go edgy and go Robert Pattinson right now. I love this. Nicely done.
What a twist.
Comedy Hour with Steve and Lance. Go ahead, Lance. I'm sorry.
Jack Nicholson as the Joker.
Really?
Now, here's why I'm picking that one. I know people are like, it's not even the best Joker or it's
Yes,
or whatever.
it is. Shut your face.
No,
It is.
I agree. But
I'm talking to the people that disagree.
okay. So here's the thing. That Joker in that film, to me, it's so hard to play the type of Joker he played. It's not like I have to play this like dark Joker or this overly something like crazy or just creepy. He has to play this almost corny, right? Because those Batman films were corny. He was great though, right? This like it's one of those almost despite the film almost being a little, he was so good that he made that film so much better. But it's a fine line that you have to do when you're not doing a Joker that's super dark or edgy, and you have to be creepy but not overly creepy. Do you understand where I'm kind of coming at? Like,
God, yes.
He did it so good that you're like, oh wow, like yeah, he's kind of a creep, but like I understand why she's like, like why he would take over, and just like there was just so much to it that was so good. And I think it's just so much deeper than the other Jokers, and he just did such a good job.
Blade.
That's hard to argue with. I think he's definitely better than Heath Ledger, and oh gosh, it's hard. It's really hard to rank the Jokers because I think a lot of people are biased to Heath Ledger, and I don't think Heath Ledger is the best Joker. Actually,
I like his Joker a lot, but not the best. I agree with you.
Yes. I think just because he unfortunately passed away, it's just overhyped, and like that. I'm just trying to be real. Gosh, if you made me pick one, I would pick Mark Hamill.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good pick.
But that's not fair. Like Mark Hamill, you pick him for like
Agreed.
every animated thing he's ever done. Like
I know, but as the Joker, I think, I don't know. It's hard.
So I actually wrote a paper in my last year of college about this exact same thing. Have you guys read or know about Jack Nicholson's contract with this movie?
Yes.
Yeah.
He signed for
people that don't
percentage.
know.
Yeah.
So he was one of the first people ever to take a back pay instead of taking upfront. And what Jack Nicholson said when he had so much trust in in Tim Burton's Batman that he said, I want to be top billed, but you will not have to pay me up front. And his percentage, I think it was 18 or 13%, which was unheard of, but it was a massive risk because they had never made a dark comic book adaptation ever. Before that, it was Superman. And that was the one that they used to use as a benchmark. And this was a big risk. As of today, Jack Nicholson is the highest paid actor in history from that one role because he chose to take back pay instead of an upfront contract. Every time you see it on TV, Jack Nicholson makes 50% of what you're seeing on TV. Not Tim Burton, not Warner Brothers, Jack freaking Nicholson, because his agents helped him write a contract that was unheard of. Since then, if you want to write a contract, it is literally called the Nicholson Clause, and you are submitting upfront pay to take on the back end, and it is unanimously seen as a massive risk. But he has made more than any of his other movies combined off of that one role because of his contract. Yeah. Fascinating character, smart move, and in my opinion, the best film adaptation version of the Joker we've seen. I love it.
Yeah.
But there, it's up to. I like how people are casting Joker in different ways. I liked Joaquin Phoenix's. I loved Heath Ledger's. You just said the only one that I've ever really disliked is the. Oh my! I have
the
to
new
filter
one.
myself.
The other one.
No, the
Not
one from freaking Gotham. That kid is an absolute a-hole, and I hated it.
Oh, yeah.
What's his name? Cameron Monaghan or whatever. That kid was a joke and should have been fired, and the show should have been canceled the second he was on there. He was an atrocious
never should have been a
bomb.
show. Let's be real.
Agreed, but once he started doing it, he was a mess. Now, spoiler, in case anyone doesn't know, you know who the new Joker is going to be, and it doesn't take a lot of Googling to search. It was literally on the news this week when the new Batman came out.
Yeah,
I'm a little skeptical. I like the kid. He's a bizarre weirdo, but I'm hoping they don't go with that direction. But I do like that the Joker is kind of open to interpretation. You know, he's kind of a weirdo character, but I do like his the best.
There's been so many like things in comics and they've interpreted him, you know, darker or crazy or whatever. You know, it's whatever. I think they're to me, they're just, he should have been cast this much. It's kind of ridiculous in my opinion. Like,
we've had 3 Jokers in the last 5 years. We need to, actually
figure it out.
We've had 4 because of Cameron Monaghan. DC needs to stop, take a breath, and figure out what they're doing. I'm not saying any of them are bad or good, but the audiences are going to get confused, especially people who don't keep up with it like us. Like, well, there's this Joker, there's the Joaquin Phoenix Joker, there's the Ben Affleck Joker, there's the whatever Joker.
I have a question for you guys as pros, because this one has been floated around Instagram for, I think, as long as Instagram's been invented, because it's a great one. What do you guys think? Is it a no-brainer that Willem Dafoe?
Yeah. Oh, Willem Dafoe could do anything. If he got it, he would probably be the greatest Joker of all time.
I could not agree with you more.
Look at his Green Goblin. Do we want to talk about he had to be campy and creepy and work in whatever? Like, he was in the semi-campy Tobey Maguire movies as this psychotic whatever, and he was in a much darker Spider-Man No Way Home as the same exact character, but it still worked, and you could tell he was the same character. He wasn't doing anything different, and like, he was creepy and crazy and just phenomenal.
Yep.
Yeah, 100%. He was great.
Yep. Well said.
Really similar to that. Gosh, and how about a honorable mention for Kevin Conroy playing Batman I mean, how long has he been playing Batman? I mean, like, that's like the definitive voice. Like, to me, like, there's not been a better Batman performance, period, since
Sarah
Kevin
says
Conroy.
the same thing as you do. She also says the same thing. Is it Tara Strong that does Harley Quinn's voice?
Yeah. Yep.
She was kind of annoyed that it was what's her name as
really?
well as
I thought
she knows she's gorgeous and that she does it really well, but on the same tone, Sarah is such a game fan of the Arkham games that she says those two should have had a whatever. But I agree, and I liked it. What was the one he was in? What was it? It wasn't Gotham, was it?
Oh, I know.
No, it was the Flash. Was it the Flash where Kevin Conroy paid him?
I think so.
It was Flash. It was in that really cool one scene thing where it was him and it was awesome. I don't remember what it was.
Wayne.
Yeah,
they were doing like a Flashpoint thing, like some kind of crossover between like Flash and the Arrow and the.
I just can't tell if it was Arrow or Flash or whatever the hell
It was
they
there,
had going
but
on.
it was a crossover event, so it was
Right.
whatever.
Yeah.
It just depends on which episode you were
It was
watching.
that 6-episode thing that was like huge for the DCU and and DCU.
Crisis.
Sorry.
Oh, it's Crisis. Crisis on
Crisis.
Infinite
That's
Earths.
it. That's
Yeah.
it. There you go. Yep, that's it. That was a really cool thing.
When Blake was talking about Green Goblin, I just remembered someone who's literally perfect for their role, but it's really something stupid and they're so small of a role, and that's Thomas Hayden Church as Sandman. He looks exactly like
him.
Sandman.
Yeah.
He like, it's insane. Like when you look at the comic and you look at him, you're like, what did they see this guy and put him in the comic? It's insane. And he does a great job.
Huge Thomas Hayden Church fan. I've loved him in what's that goofy sitcom that he was in? I have him on DVD. It's not Will and Grace, it's something else. But he's just a cool guy, and I love him in Sideways. But you're right, and I was so pumped to see him back in this one.
You bring up Sideways just to stab me in the heart.
I know you don't like it. I love it, but that's okay.
I can't believe it. Maybe I need to watch it again or something.
I don't know. Well, I can do my last one. It's one actor in two different roles.
I don't want you to blow your last one and have me sit here with my list of still however many. We've got a little bit of time.
Lance was waiting for you to say it, but you didn't do it.
Let me quickly mention this is somebody this is my last comic book one, I think. I kind of think about it for a second, but it's somebody who's been in several superhero movies in several different roles, but also just himself, but that's just Stan Lee.
Oh, okay.
So just I don't know. I think we had to mention.
Do you have a favorite Stan Lee cameo?
Yes.
What is it?
Teen Titans Go to the movies.
Okay, that's a great one. I didn't expect you to say that. I love that. That's a good one. That's hysterical.
It's just unexpected, and like you're sitting there watching a DC movie, and Stan Lee comes up and talks about this is the Stan Lee cameo.
Yeah, that is amazing.
That is just brilliant, and the guys who write Teen Titans Go, whether you like it or hate it, are just brilliant. Their humor is so smart, and just I don't know, what did it take contractually to get Stan Lee to appear in a DC movie as Stan Lee?
Dude, it's because Teen Titans is brilliant. We watch it every time it's on TV. Mm-hmm. And the other day there was obviously they're mostly are reruns, but how hilarious was the one where DC was fighting the other group and the big building kept on using MCU like stuff, but they couldn't quite get the marketing right. So like the shield, instead of it Captain America's shield looking like his, it was gold and blue instead of red and blue, and it was different. And then the Hulk would turn green, except that he would quickly turn blue, and the whole thing, and it was like the building was like the rivals or whatever, and they were fighting each other, and it was hysterical because the MCU building beat them every single time, and they were like leaning into it. It was hysterical. And the only one that beat it, I'll tell you the episode if you want to look it up. It was the Wonder Woman like 80th anniversary or something like that. It was her birthday party. So at the end of the day, the only one that beat them was Wonder Woman came to beat everybody and save the day. And she was mad that they were celebrating her 80th birthday because she's not an old woman. But it was funny because they were fighting the MCU, and the MCU was destroying them on everything. And it was hysterical because they were clearly referencing every. It was great. I mean, it is perfect storytelling. I've used them as Yaki Way posts like 9 times because they talk about real estate.
There's a whole episode where
Robin will be like, yeah. Interest rates are low. Wah, wah, wah. What are you going to do with that? You can refinance. I mean, it's the funniest show ever.
You'll get more equity.
Exactly. You could lower your mortgage payments. Wah, wah. You know, it's hysterical. I love that freaking show. It's brilliant.
The name of that episode, I think, is called "And Finally a Lesson," because the producers were complaining that this cartoon was not teaching any lessons. So this was kind of like a middle finger to them.
I'm telling you, it's so great. They also did an episode where the writers were characters in the show, and they were like, "You guys suck," and they're like, "What do you mean? We're just you guys." No, you guys are horrible. It's a brilliant show.
Yes,
Teen Titans Go is one of the best.
Mm-hmm.
And I think with the next episode they did after the mortgage one, they did it about pyramid schemes.
Yes, use that as a Yaki Way post too.
Yeah.
And It's
and they end up in like Egypt, and there's
Yep.
mummies
Yes.
in pyramids.
Yep.
It's so stupid.
Lance, I'll go through and I'll send you the
It's
clip.
so
I've used that
smart,
like a
though.
year and a half ago. It's freaking hilarious.
Ugh.
Teen Titans is a win.
Yep.
For sure.
Well, Teen Titans Go. Let's say that. I don't know the other Teen Titans. I don't watch the Titans
Yeah,
show.
I
I just
didn't
like the
watch that
cartoon
either.
one. It's
Yeah.
freaking hilarious. Oh, every time we watch it, Sarah and I just start laughing so hard, and we say the same thing. How did DC approve this? Like, how did they approve of the MCU just beating them up on every aspect? But it's adorable. It's freaking hilarious. I think my favorite's Beast Boy. I cannot stop laughing at Beast Boy. I love it because of, hey, mama, tofu, yeah. And then they kept on giving him cubes of tofu for his birthday, and he was like, more tofu.
No, I'm all about Starfire and Raven. Like
I know they're great.
Yeah. Okay, since we're still on big pop culture things, this is one of my favorites on this list. Because this is somebody who was tasked with playing a character, okay, who has been not in many things, but it was a character from a few books, okay, and kind of like a fan favorite, although he wasn't mainstream, but now this character is very mainstream in Star Wars, and we're about to see a live action adaptation that I hope stands up. So this person had to play this character in a Star Wars cartoon. Now, I went ahead and I read the books. And I don't know about you guys, but when you read, like, to me, like, I'm picturing like all the performances, like I'm envisioning like what these characters sound like and look like, in my head. And before I read the latest one of those books, I read Lord of the Rings was the thing before that. And Tolkien is so descriptive. Like, he describes everything. You know exactly what everyone looks like, how many rocks are around, how many blades of grass, how long it's been since they last mowed the lawn, the time of day. You get my point.
Yes.
This writer does not describe as much, but to me, the voice and characteristics of this character, like I had a voice in my head. And when Lars Mikkelsen came out as Thrawn in Star Wars Rebels, he sounded and acted exactly as I pictured this, just these words on a book. And I don't know how many times that has happened, because even like something like Lord of the Rings, like, okay, not exactly, but yeah, that's great. But Lars Mikkelsen is Thrawn. That's how his whole mannerisms, he almost kind of whispers, and he's very deliberate and calculating, and that
So
even that
scary,
weird,
dude.
like,
Yep.
not like a lisp, but there's like a little something that he has there. Like, it is Thrawn. I was like, as soon as I heard him talk, I was like, this is exactly what I pictured. Like my mind was blown. And gosh, I hope they make him play live action Thrawn, because he also looks like him. He's got a very jaggedy face.
Well, I know you guys don't watch it, but you just saw Cad Bane in the Book of Boba Fett, and
Yep.
I mean, he was creepy.
And
good.
that
So freaking- the
was
same
played by the
actor.
voice actor who
Yep.
voiced him in Clone Wars, and
Yeah.
was he in Rebels? I can't remember.
Yep. Yes, he was. Absolutely. And he nailed it. So you could easily do that, whether or not he looks like him or not. But I love that you called this one out, because he's a huge fan favorite. People were losing their minds when he first showed up. Yeah.
Mhm.
He was
Yeah.
great.
He's a great character.
pick.
I love the books, and they did a great job with him in Rebels. In that same vein, since we're talking about Star Wars and the voice actors reprising their roles, Katie Sackhoff played Bo-Katan. She provided the voice in both Clone Wars and Rebels. And guess what? She looks exactly like Bo-Katan.
Yep.
And when Dave Filoni was producing, he's like, one day you're gonna play him in live action. She was like, oh, whatever. And it happened. And
Yeah, and
my
add
gosh,
to the fact that she's also a great on-screen actress. She's not
Yes.
just a good voiceover. She
Yep.
freaking nailed it.
Mhm.
That finale of season 2, she was in it, man. She was freaking brilliant.
Yes, absolutely. And when I saw Bo-Katan come onto screen in The Mandalorian, I was like, oh, cool, it's Bo. And then I got even more excited when she took off her helmet. I was like, oh my gosh, and it's Katie Sackhoff. Are you kidding me? I was so stoked. And like, it's just a fan dream, like, unbelievable. So gosh, those are two of some of the best characterizations of characters in Star Wars, I think.
Well, Lance, I have one actor left doing two different roles. If you would like, I can do them now because they do kind of relate to what he just said.
Go for it.
So I'm going to do the less exciting one first, but you know where I'm going to go with this. Arguably one of my top 3 actors of all time. At one point in time, he was my favorite actor. And if anyone knows me, knows where I'm going with this. And you're going to have to sit through my first minute of this because it's not the one you want me to talk about, but you know the second one. Mr. Ewan McGregor. And I'm going to tell you the first role that I'm going to talk about is he played Danny Torrance in Doctor Sleep, which was the little kid from The Shining grown up. And while the movie was critically loved and adored, especially by me and my family, it didn't make a lot of money. It came out right before COVID. It was a weird sort of timing and people didn't want to see a Shining sequel. But if you wanted to see Danny Torrance grown up, this was a risky move and Ewan McGregor nailed it. So I absolutely love Ewan McGregor playing Danny Torrance.
He's a phenomenal, and I still think he's underrated.
I could not agree with you more. Well, so let's just move to the one that's more on point here. Is Ewan McGregor not the best Obi-Wan Kenobi of all time? Because there's nobody else. His series comes out this fall, spring, and besides Sir, what's his name? A younger version, and people love him, and that would be my last one. Is Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan Kenobi?
Hello there,
General Kenobi. Well, gosh, I didn't even consider him because I was like, well, these characters are made up for the screens. But then I was like, well, actually, you have to think about it. Like, this is Alec Guinness's character, and he had to make it work for, he had to make it work as a younger version. And like, it's like seamless. It's unbelievable.
Great.
Oh man,
despite those movies sucking.
Yeah, that's a
I don't
whole
want to
other
hear
conversation. That's a whole other conversation.
But he was good. He was easily
great,
the best part.
Well, one of the best parts, but yes,
one of the best parts. I know Qui-Gon is fantastic, and so is
yes.
So is what's his name, Darth Maul. I know there are great parts in all of them. There are, whether or not you love them, you can always pick and choose good parts from all of them. I think that the last one was pretty damn good, but also I just think that Ewan McGregor nailed it, and he did a
100%.
fan justice, a fan service. He leans into it. He doesn't shy away from the Star Wars fans. He loves it. He loves the attention from all of it, and he's very grateful. He is a fantastic person, but I can't imagine anybody else doing it. So when they announced that they were making an Obi-Wan series that would fill that gap, and he was loving it, and he said it's the role he's always wanted to play, and it's the story he always wanted told. Besides the fact that he plays it really well, isn't that great for an actor to be like, no, I've been waiting for you to ask me for this because as a Star Wars fan, I wanted to fill that gap. Cool is that? I mean, that's what he said.
I hope they do it up. I don't know if I'm going to watch it, but like there's only been a couple of canon references to this time period post episode 3 and before episode 4, and like there's little details, hiding in Tatooine and talking with Qui-Gon and like looking at he has Anakin's lightsaber and going to Shmi's grave and literally like apologizing to for letting her son turn to the dark side. Like there's already canon things that are really heavy and emotional, and there's a real chance for this to be the greatest Obi-Wan performance, period.
So I think one thing when you think about his character and like the development from episode 1, 2, and 3 is like the like playing the student thing and like learning, like he played like the I don't really know too much, but like I'm learning as I go type of feel,
like,
right?
Yes, master. Okay.
Yeah, yes, right. And then from the 2, there was that adjustment, and 3, there's that adjustment and that like on scene, like like he has like wisdom through his acting. Like you're like, man, this guy's like he does such a good job at just changing that role as it progresses. Like there's few actors that I feel like they play a character who's really wise, and you're like, I'm sure this person is wise in person. Like the one I'm going to say next is going to be before I come off this, but I'm going to say Ian McKellen as Gandalf, where the actor looks like he's wise. Like his presence, he just seems like, man, this is a wise guy. If this was real life, I'm gonna sit back and listen to everything he has to say. And I feel like he does such a good job like that when he's yelling at Anakin in episode 3 that like, dude, like this guy's right. Like, what are you doing? Like, you guys know what I'm getting at? Like he just does such a good job.
Yeah,
at
absolutely.
just demanding that presence.
Also, his role shifts from Padawan in the first one to intro trainee, learning sort of how to do it. And then in the third one, he's really balancing risking everything at where do you draw the line. And I seriously think that it comes down to it. Yeah, and a lot of it is in the shoulders, like the way that he physically carries himself when he talks to him. It's like, it's something that's very difficult to do, which is why I love the fact that there's another one here. But also, I'm such a big fan of him as a person, and I just like he's
and gosh, furthermore than that, how about he knows what Anakin was doing the whole time. He didn't say anything. Goes to Padme like, hey, where's Anakin? Okay, you're not going to tell me. It's like, well, Anakin is the father, isn't he? Like he knew the whole time, but how, like that's a punch in the gut. Like his brother, like he was sneaking around behind the council's back, his back, having this secret life, being secretly married against the will of the Jedi. He knew. He wasn't stupid. And if you watch the Clone Wars, he even considered doing the same thing and leaving the council for a woman, but I'm so sorry. I have to go kill him.
Yeah. It's a great role. Great role. Honestly, the movies may not be fantastic, but I love the writing and I love how he embraced and leaned right into that character. It's fantastic. I love Gandalf though.
Tell me he doesn't when you read the books, like that's basically what you're picturing. He looks like him. He feels like him. Acts like him. Like it was such a good pick. And it might have been just be so obvious to pick Ian McKellen. You know what I mean? Like it was like, obviously you guys were going to pick him. You know what I mean?
Lance,
no,
which one of these does it better, Lance? Ian McKellen as Gandalf, or what's his name as
Christopher
Professor
Lee?
X?
So okay, so
I thought you said Christopher Lee as Sauron.
No, Professor X or him, because that's the one that if you Google them, those Patrick two do Stewart, show up. Yeah, Patrick Stewart showing up as him. I'm just curious what your thoughts are, because if you do Google this, those are the two that show up at the top. And I'm curious which one do you think embraces it more? Because I didn't read the Lord of the Rings books. You guys are obsessed, so I'm just curious. Which one do you think nailed it better?
Okay,
that's so hard.
It's not hard for me. And I'll explain why.
Okay, I'm just gonna say, I think you can get someone to play almost as good as Patrick Stewart, and that's with Hugo Weaving, because I think he looks almost more like him. If you took his hair out with his eyebrows, it would look just like him. And he's such a good actor. He might have been able to pull it off just as good.
So you're going with,
but I do think Gandalf is an easier character to get. I think he knocked it out of the park, but I do think he's it's the role is a little, I think, easier to cast, because I feel like people have done similar things, whereas Professor Xavier is kind of like no one's ever done anything like that before.
Before Blade answers, I want to tell everyone that's listening, you don't get to see their reactions, but I think I just asked the most important question in Nightcap chat history. Blade just was like, his eyes were like huge. He disappeared off screen for a second, and Lance was struggling to compartmentalize.
I was like, it was so distracting. I was like, I'm trying to like continue my sentence and like look at Blade, and I'm like, oh my gosh.
I don't know where this is going. Blade, what is your answer? What the hell?
Well, first, I know exactly what he's saying with the Hugo Weaving thing. I just wasn't expecting it. But as soon as he said Hugo Weaving, I just pictured like the eyebrows, because Professor X has these eyebrows in the comics, and like that's all it is like, yes, I have eyebrows. I'm Hugo Weaving.
That's what I was thinking. Yes. Like he looks just like him.
Yes. So I disagree with you. I think. Well, wait, no, I don't disagree with you.
See, I told you. Best question in a Nightcap chat. Blake doesn't even know what the hell he's talking about. Do you agree or disagree?
I think Patrick Stewart is a more definitive Professor X, then Ian McKellen is as Gandalf, in spite of Gandalf being, in spite of Ian McKellen being like
Spot
pretty
on.
much perfect, you know. So I have one Lord of the Rings actor, and I love the Lord of the Rings. And it was hard not to pick multiple people, but I was trying to think definitive.
I knew you were going to say Liv Tyler. I almost called that earlier.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Ian McKellen.
Mark this moment and edit that out. Steve's joke does not land.
No. Ian McKellen is phenomenal. And I was going to mention him because of who I did want to mention, and that was Christopher Lee as Saruman. Fun fact, you're talking about people playing Gandalf. Tolkien's pick to play Gandalf was Christopher Lee. To play Gandalf.
Wow.
Not Saruman. But I respectfully disagree with Professor Tolkien, and I think he's much better suited for Saruman.
I would agree. He's too scary.
The power of Saruman lies in his voice. That's what it says.
Mm-hmm.
So the
Christopher
voice
Lee is
everything.
Terrifying person, and you cannot be in love or worship someone and follow them blindly if you're scared as hell. He is fantastic in the role he was in. I could not imagine it flipped. I personally can't imagine.
Yeah, he has too much of a presence.
Yeah.
For you not to use that for that type of a character would just be a waste.
And I think that I can picture other actors in the role of Gandalf as like fair interpretations. You know, off the top of my head, or actually, I was thinking Brian Blessed, but I wonder if he'd be a good Saruman because he's got such a big jelly voice. You know,
Brian Blessed would be a good Gimli too.
Oh gosh, that's even better. Well, how about I saw some fan art and I thought this was interesting. Ian McShane.
Oh, I like Ian McShane. Oh, I don't know.
I think he's a good Saruman because he's
he's
a little
scary
darker.
and dirty. And
Really? Because I don't know. I think he could be like I think he could bring a toughness to Gandalf.
Nah, I agree with Lance. I don't know. I think there's got to be a finesse to
you need
Gandalf
someone
and
who,
a kindness.
Because Gandalf's like kind of a pothead, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
he is. He's kind of got that hippie sort of vibe, and you could, whatever. So I have a question then before we keep going. Do you think the greatest ensemble cast of all time is the Lord of the Rings? Is there anything else that you can think of that was? I mean, it's tough to say Avengers because you literally have 49 different people cast.
So,
but I mean,
what I was going to say is it's hard because with something like the MCU, it's hard to pick like what group are you going to talk about? Because to me, Chris Evans and Robert Downey Jr. together is. Chris Evans did kind of almost what like Jack Nicholson did with the Joker, as in you're taking something campy and something that's almost like stupid and corny, and you made it so serious. You did such a good job that it's hard to picture anyone else being Captain America. Like they did the 1930s, they did his origin story, and it was a phenomenal movie. And he did such a good job, and it wasn't corny at all. So it's so hard to pick because then you got Black Widow's she's okay.
Yeah, and Black Widow is my favorite, and I wish it was Emily Blunt because she would have been better. And I love Scarlett Johansson. And then you have people like Brie Larson who are just garbage.
But I think Lord of the Rings might be the greatest. It's hard to say, but it's so good. I mean, Andy Serkis even as Gollum is phenomenal. You know what I mean? Like it's from like the
John
big
Rhys
parts
Davies,
to the
Viggo
little parts.
Mortensen, Sean Bean, Orlando Bloom was whatever. He was just like,
he was terrible.
I'm gonna say something.
I know you guys say he's terrible. I liked him in his role. I liked the whole thing.
I mean, he had 5 lines.
Exactly.
Steve, I think you could have done just as good.
For sure. I thought he looked the role. I thought the little bit that he did. This is where I lean into you guys and your expertise on this. I think that Lord of the Rings is by far the greatest casting of all time. Those people are fantastic, and I can't think of anything that grandiose. The only other one I can think of, and Blade, I texted you this one earlier, would be the Harry Potter films, because those are based off of a book series. And not only did they nail the characters, they started writing the books around those characters, meaning that it's not the same thing as Lord of the Rings, because they were literally writing the books of Harry Potter after the films had been made. So they were literally making them around those characters, kind of like what they were doing with Game of Thrones. They're fixing it, kind of tuning it up as they go. It's not a fair assessment, which is why, well, true, but you know what I mean, what I'm saying.
Yes.
Which is why I think that Lord of the Rings has to be one of the best ensembles of all time. First of all, it's a lot of people, but it's a set story that has been written for 50 plus years. You can't change it, and it's not organically changing with the characters.
And I have to say that even like the little cameos from certain characters, I can't think of any off the top of my head right now that I was like, man, that was kind of like terrible. Like that didn't.
You just said what's his name?
Ooh.
You said Orlando Bloom.
Orlando Bloom, he was okay. He was
like
the only one that wasn't that good. But I mean, like even like when they had like Eomer come by and it was like, oh, it was great. Like
Urban.
Little characters or
Grimo
Carl
Wormtongue.
Urban, yeah, phenomenal. He's in it. Yeah, Wormtongue, great. Like there were so many just like little characters. I was like, holy cow, he's great.
And Brad
He's
Dourif
awesome.
stayed in character during the entire production, and then on his last scene, he switched back to his Australian accent or whatever he naturally has. And,
Carl Urban?
No, the guy who plays Grimo Wormtongue. I just said his name.
Oh crap!
Brad
Sorry
Dourif.
about that.
Brad Dourif.
My bad.
He broke his character finally, and I think it was the guy who plays Theoden, Bernard Hill, said, "Man, that's the worst Australian accent I've ever heard." But it was his real voice, you know. So I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, it's phenomenal. You can't compare, but another phenomenal ensemble cast, and one of these characters I have on my list to possibly bring up, but I didn't know for sure, is Watchmen.
My man, thank you.
Gosh,
I love that.
First of all, Jeffrey Dean Morgan as the comedian.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah.
Chills.
Yep.
You have what's his face play Rorschach.
Yep. Oh my God, hold on a second.
Like,
he's one of my favorites.
It's like three names. Jack Earl Haley.
Jackie Earl Haley. Yeah, and what as much as you guys are saying how great Jackie Earl Haley and all, what's his name? Hold on, I want to make sure that I bring it up. Billy Crudup was fantastic as Dr. Manhattan.
But Dr. Manhattan was played by two people.
Yeah. You mean when he was blue and then when he was regular? Right. Yeah. But the voiceover was always done by Billy Crudup.
Yes, but wasn't there a physical actor too?
Yeah, the guy in blue, and that could be the one you're talking about because he was 100% CGI'd.
Yeah.
So if you're talking about that, yeah.
Yes.
I have to say Matthew Good just nailed it, and he made it so scary. I thought it was such a good movie.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And like it was pretty much like the comic books. The ending was a huge departure. Yep. But it was still, which
I thought was okay. By the way,
it made sense. I have to admit that. Yeah, great cast. And I love it when more than one people play a role to really make it perfect and bring it to life. I think that's a really neat concept, and I love seeing that.
I always found it interesting that The Watchmen was so easily manipulated between the films. The one on HBO was completely different, but I thought it just nailed it so well. But they took the ending a little bit more literal to the book with the squids versus, what was happening in the film. And either way, I love every aspect of it. I think it's one of the most unique stories ever told, and I'm a huge fan.
Mm-hmm.
Big time supporter of it. Regina King, I thought, nailed it. It's so well. Really great role.
So, a couple, I guess we'll close out the list here. I believe this is a book. I honestly haven't read the book, but the performances are so good, I thought I'd mention them. And that is Mahershala Ali and Viggo Mortensen in The Green Book.
Green Book. Nicely done. Well done. They both won Oscars for it, and it won.
So good.
It might have won Best Picture. I think it did, or Screenplay. That was one of the more controversial picks that year. But yeah, great story.
Great movie, great actors, wonderful performances. Obviously, they make it. The whole movie is just them. So if you like either one of them, like they're great. Let's see. Okay.
They're also real people, and the guy that plays Mahershala Ali, Mahershala Ali plays the real character, is still alive. And for a second after the film came out, a lot of people were saying, oh no, you were leaning too into I'll be honest here, that the white guy was a nice guy. And oh no, that's not how it was. The real guy, the Mahershala Ali's character said, you guys are all whacked. That's exactly what he did and more. You don't see how much he did off screen. They dumbed it down. As a
Wow.
matter of fact,
Wow.
he
Yeah.
was great. So he went to bat for that character, and I just love that because typically today it's the exact opposite. But no, he was like, no, he's my best friend. I loved him. I thought it was a really sweet story, and it was one of my favorite movies of that year.
Yeah, it's a great movie. Another duo that I have on here. This is also a book. I didn't read the book, but the performances are too phenomenal, I think, that it doesn't matter. It's Johnny Depp and Benicio del Toro in Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
Yep.
Great. I mean, they're both just always great. I was watching Snatch again the other day and just like, gosh, Benicio del Toro is so good. And
He's
of course,
so
Johnny
good.
Depp's awesome.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Dude, Lance is about to sneeze, and I cannot handle. Oh my God, what happened, Lance?
Went away.
Dude.
Oh.
I saw you winding up. By the way, I have read Fear and Loathing. Not a fan. It was a little bit out there. The movie I prefer significantly.
okay.
And man, they leaned into it so
That's
well.
fair.
I keep on saying that term, by the way. I need to stop saying that.
Leaned.
Lean into it. Yeah, sorry.
Come up
They
with
embrace the
more-
role, I guess
Just
you
come
could
up
say.
with
I don't know.
more synonyms. So I really wanted a Shakespeare pick.
Leonardo DiCaprio and Romeo and Juliet. I knew you were going to say that.
Oh, yeah, you got me. You got me. But that movie is good in spite of him.
It is. I
Um,
was going to fight you on that. if
I
you
had to
disagreed.
pick one. I had to pick one. So I went with my favorite Shakespeare play and my favorite movie version of it. Kenneth Branagh.
Ah, okay.
I love Kenneth Branagh. I thought I had him twice on this list, but I guess I don't. I loved his Hamlet. The Hamlet was great. He was also really good as Iago in Othello. I just wanted to pick a Shakespeare one because there's tons of Shakespeare movies. I just feel like, oh, you know what? He's also really good in Henry V. Yeah, and I love Shakespeare. I know that probably bores a lot of the listeners, but I don't care.
Do you know what? Let me throw one at you, buddy, because I'm a huge Shakespeare fan, and one of my favorite Shakespeare adaptations in film is O, which is the Othello
Oh, I saw that. Yeah.
film that was literally banned for 2 years because it came out at the wrong time. There was sadly a high school shooting, and this whole thing kind of was a modern day retake on it, but they released it later. And the guy from 8 Mile, I cannot remember his name. Yeah, no, but that's a really good, if you want to see a modern day take on Shakespeare. It's dark as hell. It's really dark, but it's very similar to the story modern day. It's great. I love Shakespeare retelling.
Kenneth Branagh's Othello is really good, and Othello is played by Lawrence Fishburne, I believe, in that one.
Yep.
He's okay. He's a little bland. Kenneth Branagh is a great Iago, though. Yeah, I love Shakespeare.
I didn't know that. I like that.
I guess my last two are the same actor.
Oh, can you say the actor and let us pick who it is?
If I say the actor, you're gonna know exactly.
You mean like how I said Ewan McGregor? Do you know I was gonna go with Obi-Wan?
Yeah, Gary Oldman.
Okay, so you're gonna do Dracula.
Yeah.
And you're gonna do
Professor Gordon.
You're gonna do Gordon, right?
No,
no,
Detective Gordon. No.
Come on, guys.
I don't know. I know
Winston Churchill, Darkest Hour.
Ah, there you go. Yep, under Sneak Attack. Good job.
Come on.
I mean,
Yep. He's such a good actor. Half the time you don't even know he's in when he's in. No, it's in there.
Like, exactly.
This guy's great. Who's this guy? You're like, oh, it's Gary Oldman.
Yeah, Gary Oldman's fantastic. Gary Oldman's fantastic in everything. He's in the Planet of the Apes films. Are you kidding me? Gary Oldman is a god. He is fantastic. Yeah, no question there.
He's so good. Well, definitely, like, he's a great Dracula in spite of there already being great Draculas. Him as Winston Churchill in Darkest Hour. I haven't watched it all, but I'm gonna watch it hopefully this week.
He's on your list. You haven't even seen it. That's how good he did. You can tell from the trailers that he was on your list.
It was on, like, I wasn't paying attention enough to accept that I've seen it. You know what I mean? So like I want to sit down and actually pay attention. But from what I've seen, I was like, oh, like you don't need much to know that this is a performance. It doesn't look like him, doesn't sound like him. You know, it's unbelievable. And I guess
just so you know, when it showed up on Netflix the other day, Sarah goes, "Is that Blade's Dracula?"
Yes.
Yeah, is that Blade's Dracula? That's what it is.
Oh, I did miss one on my list. I've been jumping around all night. Once again, I didn't read the book, but Michael Clark Duncan as John Coffey in.
Oh, I did read those books, and he nailed it.
Yeah.
Yep, I read all of those the day that they came out. The weird thing about those books is they came out in 5 different series over a 3-month period of time.
Wow.
So it was like every 3 weeks you had to rush to the bookstore to get them. And my mom would drive me to Borders Books. Yeah, you remember when Borders existed?
Yeah.
She used to drive me to the Borders to pick up the new one for $8.50, and I would pick up the next series. It was an anthology series altogether. So you had to wait, and every one, you bet your ass. And they came out, it's like, and every single one ended in a Cliff Notes, like not a Cliff Notes, like a cliffhanger. Like, oh my God, what? So
wow.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan. I read those as they came out.
So I guess that's why the movie was so long.
Yep, absolutely. So if you buy the book now, it's all together. But if you bought it originally, they came out in 5 different miniseries, and you had to get them. It was like a movie. Yeah, like a Netflix series that you had to wait. It was really cool, but he nailed it.
That's cool. I didn't know that. That's a really interesting fact. Maybe some books should try that, like maybe to get people interested, because people have shorter attention spans, and that's not a slight at anybody. Like
no,
this younger generation coming up.
Well, yeah, it's called comic books.
Oh, well said. Yep, well
and where do you find
comics? Get at Drawn to Comics.
Yeah. Oh my God, we came full circle. Hey, I saw a really funny meme the other day that was, I'm sure everybody saw it, but it was like, director, I want to make an 8-hour movie. Fans, shut up, you're insane. Okay, I want to make one movie, except I want to release it on TV over 8 hours, and you can binge it at once. Yes, I'm in. And I'm like, yeah, that's exactly where we're at today.
Exactly
Yep, it's exactly where we're at
today. Nobody will watch the 8-hour movie, but they'll binge watch 8 1-hour episodes on Netflix.
Yep, absolutely.
That's 100% correct, and wonderful commentary on society.
You bet.
If you think about it. Gosh, what?
So,
you got another one?
I thought this. No, I just say I thought this episode was great. But I think we should an episode idea for the future is just do the opposite of this episode. There were so many
started
times
that list.
Yeah, there's so many times when you're talking, like you're talking about
written down.
When you're talking about Obi-Wan, I'm like, man, Hayden Christensen was the worst thing I've ever seen on a film.
Yes.
Like, we need to do the worst adaptations ever, because there's some just terrible jobs done, even by some good actors that we should
do. Because I already started that list, so I'm ready. Yeah,
I'll have to do some research on that one, because it's easier to remember the ones that moved me than it is the ones that I was disposable. I'll have to go back.
But as we were going through, there's so many in some of these films that are just, man, this person was terrible. This person was terrible. Like it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, you start thinking about like video game adaptations and stuff, and it gets real easy. I'm going to
put it out there straight up. This will have to be an episode where Ken's not on there, because Ken can't say a bad thing about anybody.
I enjoyed it.
Ken will be like, he was okay. He was all right. He did what he could. Ken is like this sweetest human being on the planet. So for him to say anything negative, I think we'll have to wait until he's working late, and then we'll record that episode. The angry episode.
Maybe we'll record it right now.
Yeah. I don't have time, and I don't have a list.
But I think will about wrap up our episode here of Nightcap Chat. Who are some of your favorites that we didn't mention? Is there anyone that you think deserved a mention? Like one I came up with that I haven't seen, but I saw on the list while I was doing research, was Daniel Day-Lewis as Lincoln. If there's anyone else that you thought were missing, let us know. We're at Nightcap Chat. Nightcap Chat is at Nightcap Chat on Facebook and Nightcap_chat on Instagram. And if you enjoyed this episode, share it on those platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, whatever you like to consume your social media. Tell your friends about it, because if you tell your friends about it and they listen and we see them listening, we'll keep doing this.
You can catch me on Twitch and Instagram at Tales of Lance doing video game nonsense.
And you can't catch me doing anything relevant in this world at all. So just keep on listening here and subscribe. You can listen to Ink and Paint, which will be the next episode recording. Like I said at the beginning of the show, I have a very hostile thing to say about Disneyland. And good Lord, am I glad I'm not an annual pass holder anymore. It is going to be seriously hard for me to spend money in the Disneyland parks ever again. Nauseating. And I'm about to go on a Disney cruise. So we'll cover the Disney cruise. We're going to cover what we just did and the stuff that's been coming out recently, but check out Ink and Paint, because the next episode, I'm going to be honest, it may be kind of hostile, because what is happening is, I'm going to tell you, it's unforgivable. Oh, it's gross what's happening in Disneyland right now. I can't believe that they're doing it.
And you can listen to that by just listening and subscribing here. Look out for that on the Nightcap Chat Network. And I'm Blade O'Neill. You can find all my shenanigans at Blade O'Neill VO on Facebook and Blade O'Neill, all one word, on Instagram and Twitter. We appreciate you all taking the time to listen. We love you. Be safe. And we'll catch you all next time.
Good night, everybody.
Have a good week.